Good afternoon.
Hello. I think that's as loud as it gets in Bombay Exhibition Ground, Goregaon. It does get louder, apparently.
How are you enjoying Comic-Con?
Okay, so I'm going to keep the conversation really between the crowd and Mark Gatiss. It only makes sense.
Gatiss.
Gatiss.
Say it again. Chant it. See?
Are you going to get me thrown out of here? Great.
This is how people go mad, you know.
I can see. I might have to just leave right now. So at any point in time, if you'd like to ask a question, raise your hand. We'll have volunteers here who can reach and, of course, give you the mic. I'll start with you. Of course, you need no introduction in this hall. Sherlock is what everyone loves. Doctor Who is what everyone loves. My question to you, Mark, is do you think we live in an age of the adaptation?
Of?
The adaptation.
The adaptation.
Or is that a good thing?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, we always have, in the sense that, popular works of literature and fiction have always been adapted for the screen. Sherlock Holmes was adapted for the screen almost as soon as there was cinema to do it. But I suppose we're definitely living through a moment where popular culture is in the ascendancy, and lots of things which used to be quite cult have become totally mainstream. Silence! Have become totally mainstream, especially comic books, which are like the predominant American art form now. It's amazing. And not entirely healthy, I think. There's so many of them. I think we are approaching saturation point.
But do you think, I mean, there is an allegation made that we see much less of original work now?
Yes,
in
true.
terms. So is that something that you're happy about? Because you seem to do a lot of adaptations yourself.
Well, I haven't. I mean, Sherlock is a very particular thing because it was born of Stephen and I being, in love with Sherlock Holmes. We didn't cynically think, how can we think of a new version of Sherlock Holmes? It came of, we thought, why don't we just do it modern? And obviously Doctor Who is an ongoing thing. I've done a couple of things like H.G. Wells and Agatha Christie, but I mean, I would love, people always ask me what I want to bring back, and I don't want to bring back anything except the dead. That's because I want to do new things that people will be nostalgic for in the future. The problem is, it's very hard to convince the people with the money and the people in charge to do that, and that's why essentially people retreat behind brands. And if you can say, right, we're going to do another Robin Hood film, we're going to do Tarzan, we're going to do Dracula, Frankenstein, you're 50% of the way there because everyone knows what it is. If you have an entirely new thing, it's much riskier. Risk equals money. Money equals you might be out of a job if you get the wrong one.
But when you're tinkering with what's already been popular for so long over generations, is there a fear? What would the fanboys really think? Like, did you ever fear what Conan Doyle would think if he came in your dream? Like, what did he do to Sherlock?
No, he's dead.
In your dream?
Well, no, because you see, Conan Doyle had a fantastically laid-back attitude towards his own most famous creation. He never understood why people liked it more than anything he did. Never. To his dying day. Brute. But he was very laid back about it. Famously, when William Gillette wrote the play at the turn of the century, he sent a cable to Conan Doyle saying, "Do you have your permission to marry Sherlock Holmes?" And he replied, "Marry him, murder him, do what you like with him." And what we tried to give back to Sherlock, I think, is more of a sense of the fun of the original stories. The danger, as with most things, is to treat them like holy writ and sort of bow down before them. It's not like that. They're adventure stories. They're fun. They don't really make a lot of sense. They're full of holes. But you will love them, and we love the characters. So I think the danger is that you can treat things too reverentially, really.
Was there a particular brief that you had in mind in terms of readapting Sherlock, given the number of times it's already happened in the past, both in literature and in film and on television? Was there something that you want to do which was not done until this point? Well,
really, we wanted to go back. Can you tell everyone to sit down? Everyone, sit down. Can that work? Will that work? Will that work? No? Everyone stay standing. Apparently it won't work. There may be some crush injuries. We wanted to essentially restore it, if that doesn't sound too pompous, by making the focus back on the characters of Sherlock and Dr. Watson, and taking away all the trappings which have become what it's about. So, you know, if you know your Sherlock Holmes, you know how they first met, the circumstances that Dr. Watson doesn't believe that he can do all these things, and then he becomes a sort of amazed acolyte, and then he's plunged into this world which he never expected, of strange crimes and detection. So we wanted to just kind of go back to that. If you start at the beginning, it's a very exciting thing to do, because almost every adaptation starts with them round the fire. They're both in middle-aged, and they've both been doing it for years. You start right at the beginning with, "You've been in Afghanistan, I perceive." You've got so much to do, and so many of those bits from the original stories are very, very rarely dramatized, if at all. Now, when I first read in A Study in Scarlet as a child that Stamford, the man who introduces them, has first seen Sherlock beating corpses to assess the extent of bruising after death, it was like the most thrilling thing you can imagine. I'd never seen that anywhere until we did it. And it's really exciting. So there were those things we wanted to sort of restore, if anything.
Was there also a conscious decision on your part as writers to technologically upgrade Sherlock? One of the things, you know, I'm sure you've seen that on the web, one of the things that the show has been loved for is the use of technology, the use of modern technology, especially the way the screen is used in Sherlock, for instance.
Well, the thing is, Sherlock Holmes is always a modern man. He wasn't aware he was living in the Victorian age. He was just living, well, he wasn't alive, but he was living in his own age. So he would send telegrams. He would use every means of modern technology at his disposal. As soon as there is a telephone, there is one in Baker Street. Why would there not be? He wasn't deliberately hanging on to the old ways. So what we found with our series was a way of finding an equivalence. So telegrams become texts. The whole thing of the words on screen was desired by the director, Paul McGuigan, not to have cutaway shots of phones. And it's become an incredibly successful thing. And we liked it so much, we incorporated it into the deductions. And now it's become a sort of signature thing. But it was very much about embracing technology by making Sherlock a modern person. It's like he has a vast store of knowledge, which he used hard drive or in his head. And he obviously uses gadgets because that's what Sherlock would have done if he'd been around.
Also, given that you wanted to go back to the relationship between Sherlock and Watson, of course, in the new season we have Watson having a child now, becoming a father. To what extent does that sort of affect the relationship in some form or the other, given that they share the place?
Well, it does. I mean, in the original stories, Conan Doyle marries off Dr. Watson in the second story, and I think he immediately realized he'd made a mistake, because then the stories are sort of subsequently set in a time before that, because he needs to have them together in the apartment. And then when you do see Mrs. Watson, she's basically at the breakfast table giving her husband permission to go off and play for a bit. So the fact that John is married and not living in Baker Street and with a child is going to change the dynamic, but we'll have to see where we go with that, really.
You know, I was going through your Twitter account in the morning, and one of the things that we realized about you is, you know, besides everything else, you're a very strong gay rights activist. A lot of your tweets and a lot of what you talk about is, on gay rights as well. Did you at any point have to resist the temptation of Watson and Sherlock Holmes being gay?
I didn't think anyone was listening. Well, it's not a temptation. It's I feel very strongly about this. The trouble is, if you make a successful show of any kind, people then feel that it should carry a torch or fly a flag for a particular thing. the whole idea of John and Sherlock being mistaken for a couple in our show is inspired by the Billy Wilder film, The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes, which we love to distraction. And in that, you know, Sherlock gets out of an awkward situation by claiming that he and Dr. Watson are a couple. So we sort of ran with the same joke. But it's a joke. That's obviously not to belittle the idea that they could be, but in our version, they are not. And Sherlock specifically says in episode 1, when John asks him if he has a girlfriend or a boyfriend, he says, no, all that matters to me is brain work. Everything else is just transport. His body is an appendage to him. Now, what happens to Sherlock in his life as he becomes slightly more human is that he discovers different things. He meets Irene Adler, and he has a kind of intellectual relationship with her, which is kind of more shaded than a simple attraction. There's something about her. It wouldn't really matter what sex she was. Something about her which kind of interests him. And they become a kind of, for a moment, a sort of unit. But I think the point is, Sherlock is brain. Everything else is just as a sort of puzzle to him. What's clear is that he is not a Cyberman. He knows that love and emotions are dangerous. It's a chemical defect found on the losing side. And he chooses, like Mycroft, to remove them from his life. That doesn't mean he's not capable of feeling them. It just means he actually tries to remove them because he knows they'll mess him up. They'll mess up his work. So I don't... If we had an agenda of making Sherlock and Dr. Watson an openly gay couple, that's what we would have done. But that's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. And it's perfect. I'm very happy that everybody thinks what they like, but it's never going to happen. No, I'm not joking. It's not the point of the series. It's not to make them an openly gay couple. And as I say, the danger is you then... People say, well, but why? They should be, because we need more openly gay couples on the television. Yes, we do, but this is our show, and we're just making a decision about our characters. I'd be very happy to write another show in which there is an openly gay couple, and that's what it's about. But it's not this one. In the meantime, though, I think we should do our best to get homosexuality decriminalized in this country.
Getting to Mycroft Holmes, I heard that was not a role that you were planning to do in the first place. It just happened to you. What's the story?
Well, we started with a pilot because the series was going to be hour-long episodes, and then when we made that, the BBC asked instead if we could do 3 90-minute episodes. Yeah, I can't tell you anything because they would have me killed. That's how it works.
We've been waiting to see you in Game of Thrones a lot more because you have a really strong character.
Well, I think Tycho Nestris is from later in the books, and they brought him forward a bit. Right. I think do I go to the wall? Well, that means I go to Iceland. Very exciting. I don't really know. I don't know what's planned, but I had dinner with Dan and David, the showrunners, and I pitched the idea that I should be the last character surviving in the whole series. Only because the bankers survive everything.
We would like that.
Yes, thank you.
How do we do this? Someone from
there?
We love you, Mark.
Thank you very much.
We all very, very much.
We should go on a date sometime.
Sure.
All of us. In the same restaurant.
It's a date then. Alright, firstly, I love your pink socks.
Thank you very much. They're fuchsia.
Yeah. And this is a sort of a question that a friend had, really, but I started thinking about it too. So my question is, was Magnuson Sherlock's first kill? I mean, because he looked really shocked after he shot him, of course. Was it his first, or had he done that before too?
Was Magnuson the first person Sherlock killed?
Yeah.
Yes, I would say so. Yes. Stephen and I always thought that was Dr. Watson basically rewriting the truth for the general public. It's like it's an odd ending. I mean, you know what I mean? It's as if it was actually real, but it wasn't. But it's like, I think Sherlock hated Milverton Magnuson more than anyone ever. He has a physical reaction to it. So it's like watching a snake in an aquarium. It makes your skin crawl. He's a very bad person. I think Sherlock put him down in the original story, and that's what he does in our version, really.
Was that a big decision for you to get Sherlock to actually kill someone?
It was really. I mean, quite genuinely, in series 3, episodes 1 and 2 have a lighter tone, and particularly in the wedding, because we knew that episode 3 was going to be very, very dark indeed. And we sort of wanted to convince everyone that Sherlock was maybe getting a bit soft, just so we could sort of then punch everyone in the stomach. It's the usual. Oh. Who's got the microphones? Who's got lady there in the t-shirt?
Hi.
We'll have to pass the mics back a bit because it's not fair.
Hi. So I wanted to ask, for the 3rd season opener, how many fan fictions did you read to have all those nods for the...
Sorry, how many what?
Fan fictions did you read to have all those nods where you have
We
the
don't read
Sherlock-
fan fiction. No, we don't.
But there is Sherlock Molly happening. There's
Yes,
Sherlock
I know,
Molly.
but that's you don't have to read them to be aware of what people think.
Do you like the idea of fan fiction?
Pardon?
Do you like the idea of fan fiction?
I'm very happy. I mean, it's exactly what when Stephen and I were children, we used to write Doctor Who stories and Sherlock Holmes stories ourselves. So the fact that people are creating their own versions is exactly the same thing. Essentially, we are breeding the showrunners of tomorrow, I think.
Thank you.
As to what is in those fictions, it's up to you. Let's try and get one to the back somewhere. There's a gentleman with glasses and something in his hand there. Can you see him, anyone? I can see him.
The one right at the end?
Yes. Have you got a microphone?
Can you pass on the mic?
Wait for the mic, wait for the mic. There we are, it's coming.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
I'm a great fan of Sherlock.
Thank
so
you.
My basic question will be, you're as well a character and the producer of the show. So how does the staff treat you, basically?
When I came on here yesterday, someone insisted on touching my feet. It's a bit like that.
No, not like that.
No, we don't have staff. We have a big team, almost all of whom have been with us from the beginning. It's a massive collaborative effort between the design department, the costume, makeup, everybody. So it's a big happy family, really. There's no deference or anything. So yeah, we're just very happy. Plus the feet touching. Isn't it hot? It's like being in India.
Okay.
Hello,
Love you
Mr.
too.
Hello, Mr.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Mr. Gatiss. Will we be seeing third Holmes brother, Sherlock Holmes, in season 4?
Sherlock Holmes' brother, you mean Mycroft?
No, Sherlock Holmes, the third Holmes brother.
The third Holmes brother?
Yes.
Well, there isn't a third Holmes brother.
But I read in an interview that you are trying to get Tom Hiddleston to play Sherlock Holmes.
Okay. No. This is a perfect example of Chinese whispers, as it's called. Now, I was in Rio with Ritu early this year. Somebody said, "Will you please cast Tom Hiddleston in Sherlock?" And I said, well, I'll be very happy to. I'd just done a play with Tom. He's a lovely man. I'm sure he'd be very happy to be in Sherlock. But he's a very busy movie star. I said, well, I'll ask him. Everyone laughs. The next day, he is officially cast as the other Sherlock, the other Holmes brother that doesn't even exist. There's nothing I can do about that. But that's basically where we stand.
Do you read a lot of stuff on the web that gets discussed with every episode?
No.
No, not at all.
To be honest, it's you might not believe this, but it's a bit like reading reviews. If you're an actor, it doesn't help. If you find someone who loves you, you'll find 38 people who hate you.
Right.
And it's thank you. It's sort of destructive, really. I don't mind people saying it as long as they're not horrible. But I mean, if you start Googling yourself, you'll go nuts.
You never Google yourself?
No, I wouldn't. No. God, I've heard enough of myself. So I think if you sort of read those responses, and a lot of the time they are, they're quite destructive. It would make you ill, really. Yes. So many fezzes. Let's try that lady there with a yellow dress on. Yeah. I'm coming over here.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
We all know that Minecraft is as intelligent as Sherlock.
More intelligent.
Yes. So when you are going to produce Minecraft homes for us, like there is Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
Then the series we are asking.
Series called Minecraft.
Yeah, Minecraft Homes.
Well, we could do 12 episodes a year. I'm very free. Oh, I don't know about that. People often ask us about spin-offs and things like that, and it's like, well, would you like a spin-off, or would you like the show takes 2 years to make anyway. If we had to make a spin-off, we wouldn't make anything. It's very kind of you to ask. Thank you. Someone over here, I think. Gentleman with a beard there. That one. There's a few beards, but you could have it.
Sir, I've heard this story before.
I love being called sir. It's great.
I've heard this story before, but how did you pitch Sherlock to BBC? That Afghanistan or Iraq, that thing that you were talking about. Can you just repeat it here?
It was the idea came. Stephen and I were on a train, always on trains to do Doctor Who, and we started talking about how much we love Sherlock Holmes. And I said, isn't it strange that in the first story, original first story, A Study in Scarlet, Dr. Watson is invalided home from war service in Afghanistan. And we were in the middle of another Afghan war. And we sort of looked at each other and went, well, we should just do that again. So that's how it started. And then we went in to see the BBC. We'd given them a vague idea of it, but we just sat down, and Julie Gardner, who was then head of BBC Drama Wales, just said, so, modern Sherlock Holmes? Yes. That was that. The rest of it obviously was more involved, but as a pitch, that was it. And I'll never ever have a pitch as easy as that in my life. Over here somewhere. Young man there.
I take a photo with you.
Hello.
Hi. Okay. In the season 2, the finale, Sherlock sends you Lazarus. Yes. What does that mean? What are the other quotes?
Don't you read the Bible? Lazarus was raised from the dead by Jesus. It's also the name of a character I played in Doctor Who. So it's a not very subtle in-joke, I'm afraid. That's what it means. It means rise from the dead. Fez.
Hi, I want to ask you, we love you, my friend here and I, we love you. We
hardly know each other.
We still love you. My question to you is, do you ever think the Doctor could be played by a woman?
Yes.
When?
I don't know. The question is, could Doctor Who ever be played by a woman? Of course. I think my feeling is that it only because the right woman comes along, not because there's any pressure to suddenly say, oh yes, it's about time. There, of course, there could be a black doctor, there could be an Indian doctor, it doesn't matter. You just have to find the right person, and that person will suddenly walk into the room, or make themselves the only candidate, as it were. But yeah, I think it would be fantastic. I think it would be very interesting for the show as well, eventually, whenever if it happens after Peter, I don't know, whenever that is, many years to come, I hope. Because it would sort of shake it up so much. It would change an awful lot of how we think about the program. So, yes.
Also,
that's 2 questions.
sorry, who is your favorite doctor?
My favorite doctor is John Pertwee. But he was my doctor. I love all the doctors, but he was my doctor. And I'll always love him till the day I die. You okay? Is this all right?
T-shirt there, maybe.
Yeah? T-shirt.
Yeah.
Hi, Mark. We all love you. Yeah.
A lot of love in this room.
Yeah, there's a lot of love for you. There's a lot of love for you. Okay, there exists a separate fandom, whole separate fandom for Super Hula. People want a crossover for Supernatural, Doctor Who and Sherlock together.
Why?
I understand that Supernatural will be a bit difficult because it's on a different network altogether. But can we expect a Doctor Who and Sherlock crossover sometime in future?
Well, I've got some exclusive news today. We're going to do a Sherlock BBC News at 10, Downton Abbey, Teletubbies crossover. Just for the hell of it. Well, first of all right, I'll treat this in parts. Sherlock Holmes is a fictional character in Doctor Who, so that couldn't happen. Sherlock is not the sort of program in which you could have time travel. It's not that sort of program. Someone has done it on the internet rather well. Personally, I don't see the point. And as in terms of Supernatural, quite genuinely, I cannot imagine the circumstances in which it would be possible. But you'd have to negotiate with an American broadcaster and two other separate programs to create a thing for what? I don't know. I'm sorry. Personally, I just find it a bit baffling. When I was a kid, I loved Star Trek, but I never wanted the TARDIS to appear on the Starship Enterprise. I just didn't. So I'm very happy to keep things separate. And also, genuinely, the version you've got in your head will always be better than anything we created. And what would happen, 5 minutes after this 5-minute sketch, everybody would be very disappointed. There's a feeling you often get when you look forward to something enormously and then it's over. You just plunge down again, I think. Keep it in your head. Yes. Someone at the back. Who's the tallest? The tall man there, you. Tallest wins. It's like evolution.
Hi, Mark. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Mark.
Hey.
My question is, what exactly does Mycroft Holmes does? What's his job?
My job?
Yeah.
I occupy a minor position in the British government. But occasionally I am the British government. Occasionally. I think, well, I mean, genuinely, you know, in the original stories, Sherlock originally says his brother has a small job auditing figures because of his amazing mathematical brain. And then in the second story, the Bruce Partington plans, he basically says, no, actually, he is the British government. And clearly, Mycroft is kind of pulling the strings. He's one of those, I think he's one of those permanent politicians who, it doesn't matter who's elected. It doesn't matter which government's in. He would sort of wait out a world war. He'd just like waiting for, because he's playing a much, much, much longer game. That's it, really.
He's also much older, right? Isn't Mycroft much older?
He's 7 years older, yes.
Years or something?
7 years. I'm a bit older than Benedict, a bit more than that. But we're sticking with the idea they're basically 7 years apart, yeah. Yes. Orange shirt.
Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Mycroft's role has always been very downplayed, even in the original books and as well as in the Robert Downey Jr. movies. So how much more can we expect of Mycroft in the coming series? Because you have done a brilliant job of
thank you very much. There's never enough Mycroft, I think. Well, I know you've got, I mean, the thing is, what we did, it sort of happened slightly accidentally. When we started creating the sort of precinct of characters, you know, the reason that Inspector Lestrade isn't in The Blind Banker is that we didn't want it to become too cozy. We thought, well, there are other detectives in the original stories. We want to keep it. But essentially what you get eventually is a kind of family. And really after a while you start to think, well, you want Mrs. Hudson, you want Molly, you want Lestrade, you want Mycroft. Not all the time, you know, because you want to make sure, otherwise it just becomes a bit like sort of a sort of studio sitcom. Everyone comes in going, hi, and they get a round of applause. I'd love to do that. Let's do that. Yeah. Hi, Sherlock, I'm home. So we always want to kind of make sure it's led by the story, and he is quite a shadowy presence. So I think it's about right. But wait and see. There's a lot more of me in the special. Lady right there. Yeah.
Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Should I say hi, Iceman?
Yes, you may. I wish I was. I'm boiling.
Okay, my question is, could you tell us something about the shooting of Sherlock with Meredith, with Mark, with you? Some inside jokes, something that we do not know as outsiders.
What you don't know is the whole experience is utterly miserable.
Why would you say that?
No, it's very hard work, but it is great fun, you know. And we have I don't know if you've seen. Yeah. There are some outtakes on the. There's a special box set came out, which has a few. I think they're on YouTube as well. Everything is, and you know you can see we do have a laugh, but it's hard work. You're basically making 3 films in just about 4 months. So there's not a lot of room for error, but we have a good time. And I don't know. There's lots of stories really, but they're mostly sort of involving running out of time, running out of money, like all filming is. Trying to think of something from last year. I mean, we had a brilliant when we were filming on the London Underground, which I'm obsessed with, as you may have noticed. But filming on an Aldwych, which is one of the abandoned lines, and being able to jump down on the tracks and walk into the darkness, and you can hear the other trains going, you know. And Martin and Benedict and I, it was a very exciting day. We were just like little boys with a big train set, you know. I could think of loads, but we haven't got all day, I'm afraid. Thank you.
Is there your favorite anecdote with Benedict that you can think of for the fans here?
Oh God. I do remember when we first started, we went out for a cup of tea. He arrived on his motorbike and he was so excited about the possibility, and he said, "Oh, I've been watching this. Can I do this bit of Jeremy Brett, and can I do this bit of?" And I just kept saying, you know, it's your Sherlock, you know, and there are little bits. He does this, which is Jeremy Brett, a little nod to it. So it's kind of little things like that. But you know, he's obviously made the part completely his own now, and that's the most important thing. At the back with the glasses there. Yes, you. Oh no. Yes, you.
Thank you so much. So my question is, I wanted to ask, what's the exact nature of relationship between Irene Adler and Sherlock, and are we going to see more of her in the 4th season?
Well, as I said, I think when he meets, you know, in the original stories, a lot has been made of this. To Sherlock Holmes, she is always the woman, or the woman. And the point is, the original Sherlock, he's not exactly a misogynist, he's just sort of indifferent to women. And so she is preeminent of her sex because she beats him. And he says that he's been beaten like 4 times, 3 times by men, once by a woman. That's her. So she's very special to him. In our version, obviously, there's a lot more going on. But as I say, I think he meets this extraordinary person who, the first time they meet, she outthinks him. He turns up in disguise as a priest, as in the original story. She turns up naked and totally throws him. So I think he's immediately intrigued. And then they have this kind of strange intellectual affair. And when he sort of very cruelly diagnoses her as a chemical defect, he sort of means it and sort of doesn't. Because clearly at the end, when he rescues her, there is an ongoing thing. But I think that they're basically like Godzilla and Mothra. I think they're sort of titans who kind of fight intellectually. But I think, if I may say this, I think it's more interesting than sex. Well, whether she's coming back, if she comes back, it would have to be because the story demanded it, not just for the sake of having her back. And then behind you with spectacles who actually meant you could have the next one. You. Say, just behind. Hello.
Hi. Hi. That took time. But so I've heard what Stephen Moffat has to say about this, but I wanted to know what your opinion is on Johnny Lee Miller's Sherlock on Elementary.
I've never seen it. No, I've never seen it. It's a matter of public record that CBS approached us about making Sherlock with us, and we weren't interested. But because Sherlock Holmes is out of copyright, they then made their own version. But I've never seen it as a result of that, so I really can't comment. I can't comment.
Which is your favorite Sherlock Holmes, whether it's television or in films from the past?
Ours. No, my favorite, Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce were the ones I grew up with. I absolutely loved Jeremy Brett in the 80s. But I think the film which has had the biggest influence and continues on both of us, on Stephen and myself, and has an influence on this show, is Billy Wilder's film, The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. If you haven't seen it, it's a masterpiece. Beautiful, funny, melancholy, beautiful film. But Basil's my Sherlock, definitely.
What do you think of the Guy Ritchie version of Sherlock?
I love them. I love those. I was saying the other day, we were making the pilot of Sherlock when it was announced that Guy Ritchie was doing this film, and I was a little annoyed because I thought, there hasn't been one for years, and suddenly there's 2 and 3, 4. But it doesn't matter. I haven't seen Elementary. It doesn't bother me because there's always another version, and everybody has their own favourite. So they don't cancel each other out. And the Guy Ritchie films are like Sherlock as an action hero, and they're brilliant, great fun, but totally different. So there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, you with the Batman in the air. Everyone's Batman today. I'm going to take my jacket off. I never get that reaction at home.
Hi, Mark.
Hello.
We're very, very happy that you're here.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
And what I wanted to ask you is, at the beginning of Sherlock, making the series, making the series, were you already decided that? Had you already decided that you will be Mycroft, or you had, taken auditions for the role and then you decided?
No. As I just explained, it was.
Okay.
It was just sort of came about as we were planning it. I'd actually auditioned to play a British politician called Peter Mandelson, who we'd already discussed that Mycroft would sort of share a lot of his characteristics. He's a very dark figure. He used to be in the Labour government, and he was called the Prince of Darkness. So we used to joke that that's how we wanted Mycroft to be. And I literally came back as we were discussing it, and that's when everybody said, "Oh, you must play him." So I had to resist the temptation for about 2.5 seconds. Yes, sir.
I had a question about the season 2, the Coventry Conundrum. Whose idea was it to get that concept into the series?
The what, sorry?
The Coventry Conundrum.
Oh, Coventry. Well, that's odd that we were just talking about Coventry. Well, it was Stevens, but there is this terrible thing happened in World War II because of the British bombing of Dresden. The Nazis decided to destroy Coventry, which is a very old and beautiful city, which they invented a new word to Coventrise, Coventrieren, which they totally destroyed the city. There's a tiny bit of the medieval city left. So it was, and actually I remember I said to Steve, we'll have to say that story might not be true about the fact that the Allies actually knew, because it's still controversial to this day. But yes, it was from Stephen's script, so that's where it came from. Thank you. Yes, sir. You.
What sort of research goes into writing something like Sherlock? It can't just...
Nothing. Zero.
Nothing. You just read the book and then you ideate and you thrash.
Well, it depends what it is, really. Obviously, you know, the stories, we always go back to Conan Doyle. You know, we're planning Series 4 at the moment. There are certain stories we'd like to do. There are certain stories which are favourites. But it has to be led by the overall story. And then it depends what sort of is demanded of it. I know, for instance, in Scandal in Belgravia, all that stuff about the aeroplane ticket and the seating arrangements, Stephen rang a friend of his who works in aerospace, and he just said, so how would I do this? And his friend Eddie just said, okay, you need... And it was all about the tickets and the seating, and you know, there are no number 13s and all that sort of thing. So it depends on the demands of the story, really. Yeah. Lady in pink there. I'm coming over.
Thank you. We all know what an international sensation Benedict Cumberbatch is. My question is Benedict Cumberbatch your first choice when casting him for Sherlock?
Yes.
Or were there other contenders also?
No, we did. We drew up, the very first thing we did was draw up an enormous list. I mean, you know, virtually everybody alive who was sort of right. And then I knew Benedict. I made a film with him called Start of a 10. And he was in a film called Atonement, thank you, which Stephen Sue had just seen. And we just kind of went like that. It was very like Peter Capaldi's casting. Suddenly he was just the perfect person. And so that was, and Benedict came in to read with me as Dr. Watson, and that was it. There was no other choice. And then we saw about 6 people for Watson. And then as soon as Benedict and Martin read together, that was the show. So.
But why would he immediately think Benedict is the guy to play?
Well,
Sherlock
we were looking for someone who sort of looked like Sherlock Holmes. I mean, he generally actually has.
Well, however he looks.
Well, you know, he's generally sort of gaunt or aquiline-looking, dark, tallish. Usually has a bigger nose, actually, good cheekbones. Brings own coat, and. You know, we were looking for someone who was not a star, but was sort of on the verge of it. Just someone we could kind of make into a star, really. And he was just the obvious choice. He was just like that. His mum said, darling, you can't play. You've got a tiny little nose. But obviously, we made the right decision, I think. Yes, lady there with the spectacles. I'm going to come back a bit in a minute.
Hi, first of all, it's great to have you here.
Thank you, it's lovely to be here.
Yeah, so as Mycroft, you are known for pulling strings. Do you think you could pull some strings to get Benedict Cumberbatch to visit India?
I'll give him a ring, hang on.
You'll actually have to make the call.
I'll do what I can. Well, yes, I'll see what I can do. I'd love to come back. I've had a fantastic time. I've not seen much. Not seen much of Mumbai, but what I've seen is amazing. Amazing. We went dancing the other night. It was great, wasn't it? Yeah. Yes, I'll see what I can do. Let's go to the back there. Black coat there. Yes, you.
Hello, Mr. Gatiss.
Hello, it's Gatiss. Kill him.
Yeah, it's Gatiss. My bad, sir.
Take him outside and kill him.
Yeah. So, the season 3 ended with a question which was pretty much rhetoric. It ended with, did you miss me?
Yes.
Andrew Scott.
Did you miss him?
Yes, I did. We all did. So, if we are to see him again, will it be just a cameo or will he be coming back for a full-fledged role?
Wait and see.
So
you see, these questions they're like cul-de-sac questions. I'm not going to tell you, so you might as well ask somebody else, really.
Can you just give us something more than that?
Ask another question.
No, that's it. That was my biggest question.
Okay. Yeah. T-shirt. Yeah. Next. Yeah, you. Mm.
It's okay, just go ahead. Yeah.
You're right. So it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Then you.
Hey.
Hi.
Just extending his question. Don't you think that we are undermining death in a way because we see someone dying and coming back? Or one last question, we love Jim Scott. We are happy that he's coming back. Jim Moriarty and Andrew
are we
Scott.
undermining it because he's dead and then he's come alive again?
Don't you think it's too convenient?
Why don't you wait and see what happens? See, it's the same question. Same question. Waste of question. Lady next to you.
Okay. Firstly, I want to extend her question. Doctor Who and Sherlock crossover one. You said that Sherlock is a fictional character in Doctor Who, but so was Robin Hood.
That's a good question.
And Agatha Christie.
Still never going to happen.
But please, just for the fans, one small thing.
I've told you, I've just said, if we did it, you'd be disappointed. You would. If I never do this, but if I looked at the responses online after we broadcast a 5-minute sketch where the Doctor meets Sherlock, everyone would just go, it's not as good as it should be. I could do that better, and it would go on for the rest of time. Leave it in your
Just
head, it's more fun.
One more thing.
Will Sherlock ever be a thing?
Which one?
Sherlock and Molly. Can we see more of them?
Sherlock and Molly what?
Together.
Well, as I said, Sherlock is not a regular man. He obviously likes her, respects her, owes her a lot. But again, do you not? Surely is not Molly's unrequited love for Sherlock why we like her? If they went out on a date and had 3 children, it would be the end of the series. That's what you want, right? Okay, I'm going to do it.
But is there any historical character or a historical event that you would personally like to see in Doctor Who?
Well, I would love to do a Doctor Who in India. I really would.
That's a headline for
No,
tomorrow.
I've always wanted to. I think you can do it. Unfortunately, we probably have to film it in Cardiff. But I'd love to do one. I've got an idea for one, and sort of around in the Raj. I think if you made it like a kind of a small settlement, like a fort or something, right. I think it's a very rich stuff. It's very rich possibilities, and it would be great to just sort of broaden the palette, really. But historical characters, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. What? There's what? Yes, there is apparently a Doctor Who book set in India, which is great. So, but I like that whole Hammer film kind of thing of it, and it's very Conan Doyle. Stories like Sign of 4 and The Crooked Man. There's a lot of India. There's a lot of the Empire sort of bleeds back into it, which would be quite good. Be very good. I'd like to do a Sherlock which had a sort of modern Indian element. I'm not just saying that because I'm here. I say this everywhere I go. I'd love to do a modern Chinese story, modern Russian story, modern Welsh story.
Okay, now we're winding down, so it'll be last 2 questions.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Fez at the back. Fez at the back. He's tall again. It's working.
The one
Survival of the fittest.
The one with the hat?
Everyone wear Fezes next time.
I just want to ask, what can you tell us about the Doctor Who Christmas special? Something new?
It's Christmassy. I can't tell you anything. It's not my story. I haven't seen it. I've read it. It's fantastic. It's very dark and very funny at the same time. And it's very dark at the same time. It's a dark Santa. It's a delightful thing. I can't wait to see it. It's nearly Christmas. I can't believe it. I've never been so hot at Christmas in my life. Yes, sir. You.
So this is going to be the last question. Just make sure you're not looking for a spoiler.
Oh, it's going to be good, this one. Pressure. The last question.
Is anyone recording me or what? You just did a gunpowder treason version of yours. Is there any more version, something like historical version coming up? You just did a gunpowder treason.
You mean, yes, November the 5th. What, for Sherlock?
Yeah. Is there anything, something like this historical event coming up? World event, anything else?
In Sherlock?
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell you if I could.
Yeah.
You would have to have another question now.
Yeah, can we have another question? Something which isn't about something that's coming up.
It's like Willy Wonka. I'm going to go for that lady there.
You're the one jumping in the back.
There. There. You. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
First of all.
No, not you. But carry on. I'll get to you.
First of all, hello.
Hello. Thank you very
Hello,
much.
Mr.
Goodbye.
Gatiss.
Hello.
It's so very, very nice to meet you. My question is, we've seen you as Dr. Lazarus in with 10.
Professor Lazarus.
Sorry. Yeah, in the Lazarus experiment, and we've seen you as the guy falling down the pit of skulls and stuff. Will we see you with 12?
With the 12th Doctor?
Yes.
Well, I'm always available. when I did a little bit with Matt Smith in makeup, and it was totally out of the blue. I mean, all my life I wanted to be in Doctor Who. So when I would play Professor Lazarus, that was it for me. It was my dream. So I didn't expect to be asked again. If they keep asking, I will keep doing it, definitely. And I think just the lady I actually meant, we better give her one as the last question. Go back, go back, go back, go back. Just behind there. That's who I meant. It's got to be a good one.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, we love your hello. Like the second season of Sherlock, I will see more of Sherlock in bed sheets.
It's a good one to end on. I think we should have Mycroft in bed sheets. Or maybe in a onesie.
Maybe both of them.
Mycroft in a onesie. What did you say? Both of them together? Oh my God! This is getting out of hand. That's called incest. That's not going to happen. Well, I'll see what I can do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mark, for coming here. Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.